Jihadi bride Shamima Begum looked upset and angry as she stormed through her Syrian refugee camp today after losing her legal battle to return to the UK. Begum, wearing sunglasses, leggings and white trainers, refused to comment to reporters at the al-Roj refugee camp in Syria. The 21-year-old was said to have been in tears in her tent following the ruling. This Mamdoh Abdalla, a Kurdish translator at the camp, said she was angry and cried after receiving. She added, "She does not talk to us. She was in her tent. She does not talk to us or any other journal." Begum was defeated in her legal battle to return to the UK for a court appeal over the removal of her British citizenship. The Supreme Court unanimously ruled in favour of the government and said Begum cannot come back to the UK for a court case to reclaim her British passport for the sake. Delivering the ruling, Lord Reed savaged a previous judgment by the Court of Appeal and said it had made its own assessment of the requirements of national security without any relative evidence. He said, "The right to a fair hearing does not trump all other considerations, such as the safety. If a vital public interest makes it impossible for a case to be fairly heard, then the courts cannot ordinarily." Lord Reed said her legal bid to reclaim her British citizenship should be postponed until she is no longer considered a threat to national security. He said, "The appropriate response to the problem in the present case is for the deprivation hearing to be stayed, or postponed, until Ms Begum is in a position to play an effective part in it without the safety of the public being compromised." That is not a perfect solution, as it is not known how long it may be before, but there is no perfect solution to a dilemma of the present kind. Begum was 15 when she left her home in Bethnal Green, East London, and fled to Syria to marry an ISIS terrorist. Then Home Secretary Sajid Javid revoked her citizenship on national security grounds after she was discovered pregnant in a refugee camp in 2019 and announced she wanted to return to the UK. She has been stuck in northern Syria ever since. The Court of Appeal last year said she should be allowed to return to the UK to pursue her appeal against the but the government challenged the ruling at the Supreme Court and was backed by the highest court in the land today. Priti Patel argued allowing her to return to the UK would create significant national security risks and expose the public to an increased risk of terrorism. The Supreme Court ruling stated the Home Secretary's assessment had not been properly considered, but following the ruling, Ms Patel said, "The Supreme Court has unanimously found in favour of the government's position, and reaffirmed the Home Secretary's authority to make vital national security decisions. The government will always take the strongest possible action to protect our national security, and our priority remains maintaining the safety and security of our." Lord Reed said, "The Court of Appeal's approach did not give the Secretary of State's assessment the respect which it should have received, given that it is the Secretary of State who has been charged by Parliament with responsibility for making such assessments, and who is democratically accountable to Parliament for the discharge of that responsibility. In such a case, it would be irresponsible for the court to allow the appeal without any regard to the interests of national security which prompted the decision in question, and it is difficult to conceive that the law would require it to do so." Welcoming the decision, Sajid Javid said, "The Home Secretary is responsible for the security of our citizens and borders, and therefore should have the power to decide whether anyone posing a serious threat to that security can." And Begum's lawyer Tasneem Akunji wrote on Twitter, "Disappointed." Human rights group Liberty, which intervened in Ms Begum's case, said the Supreme Court's ruling sets an extremely dangerous but Rosie Brickhouse, a lawyer with Liberty, said, "The right to a fair trial is not something democratic governments should take away on a whim, and nor is someone's British. This approach does not serve justice. It's a cynical distraction from a failed counter-terror strategy and another example of this government's disregard for access to justice." And what did Shamima Begum do? Begum and two pals, Khadija Sultana and Amira Base, ran away to Syria in February 2015. Begum used her elder sister's passport to flee with her Bethnal Green Academy. The trio flew to Turkey and then crossed the border into Syria with the aid of smugglers. Within weeks of arriving, Shamima was married to ISIS jihadi Yago Redouk, 27, They had two children who died from malnutrition and disease. The couple were separated as they fled Baghouz, the village where a few hundred ISIS fighters were holed up in a desperate last stand. Shamima ended up in a Kurdish refugee camp where she gave birth to her third. Eldest sister Raina revealed that her family had lost contact with her for the longest time until she was found via Times. When Begum was discovered and stripped of her citizenship, her own dad slammed her choice to run away to join the terror group. Ahmed Ali said he was on the side of the government and condemned her lack of remorse before claiming he was Had Begum been able to leave the camp in Syria and return to the UK to launch her appeal, it is likely the government would have struggled to send Begum back to a war. Begum was one of 3 schoolgirls from Bethnal Green Academy who left their homes and families to join ISIS, shortly after Shamima Begum, who is no relation, traveled to Syria in December 24. Khadija Sultana and Amira Base, then 16 and 15 respectively, and Ms Begum boarded a flight from Gatwick Airport to Istanbul, Turkey, on February 17, 2015, before making their way to Raqqa in Syria. Begum claims she married Dutch convert Jaco Redoubt 10 days after arriving in ISIS territory, with all three of her school friends also reportedly marrying foreign ISIS. She told The Times last February that she left Raqqa in January 2017 with her husband, but her children, a 1-year-old girl and a 3-month-old boy, had both. Shamima Begum ruling divides Britain. The Supreme Court ruling to block Shamima Begum's bid to return to Britain has divided opinion across. Following the ruling, many Brits described their delight the JIHADI bride will be blocked from returning to Britain, while others believe she should be allowed to return. One Twitter user wrote, appalled by Supreme Court ruling over Shamima Begum. She was a child. Another added, Shamima Begum was 15 when she was radicalized. She was a child. How are people failing to empathize with this? Plus, she is. However, others disagreed with the argument. One Twitter user said, why do SJW, social justice warriors, have an incessant need to back the world's most despicable people? Shamima Begum described Manchester Arena victims as fair game. She volunteered to enter the world's most barbaric death cult. She is another added, do you think the people saying Ms Begum's treatment is unfair would be saying the same if it was a teenager who had traveled to, say, Eastern Europe to join a far-right skinhead group? One reply stated, hashtag she is British, she is a traitor. She can rot in hell. She said in 2019, I'm not the same silly little 15-year-old schoolgirl who ran away from Bethnal Green 4 years. I could not endure the suffering and hardship that staying on the battlefield, but I was also frightened that the child I am about to give birth to would die like my other children if I stayed. So I fled the caliphate. Now all I want to do is come home to Britain.